So if you're in the police recruitment process, it's highly likely at some point you're going to have a final interview where you're going to get asked some really tough forward-facing questions. Now, what sort of questions are these? These are questions that start off with, how in the future as a police officer will you do? And then it'll give you a list of different things that they want you to talk about in your answer. Really tough. It's flummoxing so many of you, which is why in this video I'm going to talk to you about exactly how you can answer those questions. I'm also going to tell you about some of the toughest forward-facing questions that I'm hearing of that are coming from the sort of police forces that you're looking to join. So welcome folks to another one of my videos. If you've not seen any of these before, I'm Brendan from Bluelight, and over the past 28 years now I've been helping people succeed in police promotion boards, specialist interviews, and in the police recruitment process. I was a serving officer for 28 years, retired almost 10 years ago, and since then I've been mainly focusing on the police recruitment process, although I've helped a good 600, 700 people through their promotion boards over the past decade also. So a huge amount of success, and mostly through one-to-ones, group webinars and online courses. If you want to find a little bit more about those courses, check the links below, and also check the links to the amazing reviews on Trustpilot. And thank you to almost 600 of you now who have left incredible Trustpilot reviews. Thank you very much for putting the time and energy into those. So anyway, back to forward-facing questions. These are questions that, as opposed to asking you, can you tell me about a time when, common questions would be, can you tell me about a time when you've worked with others to solve a problem? Can you tell me about a time when you've had to make a difficult decision where you've had to account for that decision to others? Can you tell me about a time when you've received critical feedback from others and how did you deal with it? Can you tell me about a time when you have, I'm just reading off one now, done the right thing even though you're under pressure from others to do something completely different, or do something completely different, or nothing at all? So those are the sort of questions which so many of you are used to and you're thinking, I need to prepare for. The amount of times I hear people say, so will it just be CVF questions? Will it be competency questions? And that's what they mean by that. Well, actually, every question that you're asked at any kind of recruitment interview or in a promotion board is assessed against the behaviours in the CVF. So any question, it's assessed against behaviours in the CVF. And don't even try and work out what value or competency the question is from, because they could be assessing you against multiple different competencies or values in their marking guide, or they could be marking you against, for example, any question about decision making could be asking you a question which is being assessed against the value of transparency. Equally, decision-making crops up in the value of impartiality, and equally, decision-making crops up in the competency of analysed critically. So anyway, my message there is, before I actually talk to you about forward-facing questions, yes, I know I go off at tangents all the time. Those who know me know that this is just a character trait of mine. Where was I? So, yes, don't even try and work out what competency or value it's from. What we need to do is to answer the question in a really structured and detailed way, in a way that's authentically you and with some kind of emotional connect. Anyway, back to forward-facing questions. The model we utilize, or the model I've developed to answer forward-facing questions, and if you Google this, you're probably just going to come up with a load of stuff from me, from Bluelight. But it's working so well. It's been working so well for years now. For several years, this has been working. And so what we start off by doing is explaining why this particular thing is so important. So why is the thing that you're being asked about? How in the future will you do X? Well, the reason why X is so important to the police service is because, and you're going to give a short sort of 1 minute about why this thing, whatever it might be, and I'll give you some examples in a moment, is so important. And then we move into the how. So what most people do normally is give a shopping list of what they're going to do, but they don't actually explain how exactly they're going to do whatever it may be. And so what I get my clients to focus on is just delivering 2 or 3, not really any more than 3 hows. Not just the what, but how they're going to do it. So what and how, the what and how. And it's the how that demonstrates the behaviors that they're looking for. It's the how that gives them an insight into the sort of person you are. Not just a shopping list of, these are all the things I'm going to do. It doesn't work. I can promise you by the end of your shopping list of several things that you've told them about, they've forgotten the first. I absolutely promise you that. They've forgotten the first. And so the last thing we do is we talk about what. What will this result in? When I do these behaviors, what is the result going to be? And we can talk about that from different angles. So, is that making sense so far? Let me know in the comments, by the way, if this is making sense. I'd love to hear from you as to whether these videos, or in particular this one, is useful. So, I read them all, you know, and I try and answer most of them. Sometimes I don't get to answer them, but I do actually read them all because I get a notification on Google. It tells me, ping, and I get an email to say that someone's made a comment. So here you go, folks. Here's some questions that have been asked in a force just recently, in a force interview just recently. And we can see that they're pretty much all about values, really, as opposed to behaviors. So first of all, how are you going to engage with communities from different faiths or social / economic backgrounds? So how are you going to engage with communities from different faiths or social or economic backgrounds? Now, this plays into my strengths. I've got so many ideas for you. And my clients walk away with huge amounts of ideas, cutting edge ideas, because this is a lot of the work I did in the police in my last 8 years as a neighbourhood inspector. Specialised in this particular area, went on to do a lot of work with the European Union after I retired on exactly this question. So it's almost like that question was written for me to help you. Number two, when dealing with a group of people, how will you ensure that you don't treat one of them more favourably? So when dealing with a group of people, how will you ensure that you don't treat one of them more favourably? Now, this is a bit of a trick question. And I think I'll raise this on this weekend's webinar. So it's a Saturday at the moment. Tomorrow night on a Sunday is when we do the group webinars for the final interview. And I think I'm going to focus on these questions because this is a trick one. There's a trap here that you could fall into really easily, really easily. Think about it. When dealing with a group of people, how will you ensure that you don't treat one of them more favourably? There's a trap there. It's really obvious to me, but I've been doing this for 28 years. Might not be obvious to you. Third question, how will you deal with the stresses of being a police constable? Right, they want to know about what do you think the impact's going to be and how you're going to deal with it. And here's another interesting question. How are you going to build up trust with your colleagues? How are you going to build up trust with your colleagues? Equally, I've also heard this one as, how will you build up trust in the community where you are based? And there's a ton of things you can do there to give a really detailed answer. It's just they're going to be on the edge of their seats because a lot of it will be things that they've not even considered. So they will be on the edge of their seats, I absolutely promise you. Now, the force actually asked these questions also asked two rear-facing questions, ones that I mentioned before. The time when in the past when you've dealt with criticism, and the time when you've done the right thing, even when you're under pressure from others to do something else or not to do anything. So 6 questions there, 4 of them forward-facing, and ones that really test your values and who you are and how you're going to be. And the other 2, criticism, that's, you know, how you're going to deal with feedback. That's very much internalized behavior, getting a real feel for how you're going to manage making tons of mistakes, actually, because you'll make loads of them as a police officer, promise you. And the 6th one, doing the right thing, especially in the current climate where the police are under so much pressure in terms of sorting their act out, basically, because the legitimacy and trust in the police is probably the lowest it's ever been for a long time. There's not a day that goes by, actually, without some scandal coming out of the police service. So that's got to be rectified, and it needs good people to do that. There's plenty of bad apples still, and of course we need to root them out and boot them out. I know there's one force using that as a strap line internally. Root them out and boot them out. Yeah, great. But they've been operating with impunity within the forces for years, a lot of them, some of them for decades. So it's not really just that the problems are bad apples. The problem is also all the apples around them who haven't felt sufficiently confident to be able to challenge that behaviour. And let's not forget that challenging that behaviour is actually the law of this land. More about that on the webinars. So folks, plenty for us to discuss in the webinars. Check the links below. Come and join me. If you're still watching this now, it means that you're really interested and actually committed to joining the police. Come and join me on those weekly webinars. I absolutely promise you won't regret it. Actually, I promise you so much that if within 24 hours you think it's not for me, then just let me know and I'll give you a refund, because I'd much rather do that than have you paying for something and you're just thinking this is rubbish. I've only given one refund over the past year like that, and I think it's probably someone who was just playing the system, who just wanted to access all my question banks and things like that. But just one person. And I don't mind, if that's the sort of person they are, then good luck to them. Probably not going to get into the police anyway, or if they do, they're not going to last long, because the police service, they're not looking for people like that. Anyway, I'm going off at a tangent again. So check the links below, come and join us, and if you've not subscribed already, press that subscribe button and press the little bell button as well, so you'll get notification of any new videos. I'm dropping one of these every other day, so plenty to support you in the process, and hopefully to get you to come and join those webinars. And remember, there's also my other guarantee. If you do all the work and you fail, I'll give you a full refund. How about that? How confident is that? That's how confident I am. It's going to work. We'll clear up that confusion and get some clarity in your approach to your final interview. All right, folks, I look forward to seeing you very soon. Bye-bye for now.